resume recording. All right. I think it's recording now.
Yes, you are.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So I started in real estate in 2016. At the time, I was bartending and going to school full time, and got into real estate and wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do with it. And I started working for a smaller company out of Quincy. It was a friend of mine who owned the company, and I started there, kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Really, not much guidance on work in a sphere or creating a database or anything like that. So I didn't have a database until like, I don't know, a year and a half later when I got to KW. So I got to KW in 2017, and I went to Bold before I was with KW, and then through taking Bold, I decided to switch over to KW, and and that's kind of where it all started for me, creating a database and getting at least some kind of, or trying to get some kind of referral based business going. Um, and then I was working a lot with expireds and for sale by owners for the next couple of years. And I mean, I was a machine with the scripts and the phone calls. And I mean, I would call roughly like 200 phone calls a day every morning
Oh
from
my
8
God.
a.m. to noon. I just had a speed dialer going, and I would just pound the phones.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. I mean, it was it was good for business. I got a lot of listings out of it and a lot of connections and things like that. But it wasn't really what I wanted to be doing in my business. The deals that I did where it was like my friends buying a house or a friend selling the house or something,
Mhm.
those were always much more pleasant for me, and I really enjoyed that a lot more. So I decided I wanted to kind of turn my business more toward referral based, which I don't know if I would have had enough referrals and whatnot if I hadn't done all those expireds and for sale by owners. Because although they're expired and they're new clients to me, they turn into lifetime clients when you treat them well and you do good work for them. At least the majority of them do. And so that was the way that it kind of transpired for me. Is I started to then just started to call my sphere, and this was something that I was terrified of when I first got into real estate. I was terrified to call a friend or acquaintance and ask them for people that they know that's buying and selling real estate, or just even talk to them about anything that has to do with real estate. It just made me very uncomfortable to do. I didn't like the feeling of asking a friend for what I thought was like a favor, but realistically, it's a benefit to both of us to be able to work together. So so last year and this year, I've been working strictly on referrals. I haven't done for sale by owners or expireds for since about the beginning of, it was close to the beginning of 2019. It might have been like March or something like that that I stopped doing them. And it's been good. This has been the best year I've had so far, and it's all been referral based, and it's been a very refreshing year in the sense of working with the people that I want to work with, and getting to help friends and family members and just acquaintances to be able to do so, and then friends of friends as well, which is always nice.
That is.
Um,
So, do you live locally or?
I do. I live in Randolph now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So my lead generation is Command. I'm out of Command. That's where my database is. That's where I've put all my focus in. It was not easy for me changing over to Command. I don't like change all that much in the sense of like new databases. It just sounds very overwhelming. But I put all my contacts in there. I created a 36 touch plan with emails, postcards, and then like giveaways and different things like that throughout the year. And then the other thing that I touch people with is the neighborhood nurture. So I set everyone up on that neighborhood nurture so they get emails from me either bi-weekly or monthly. And then I just make my 4 calls a year to all my people. I mean, some of them I tend to talk to more, depending on what's going on in their lives. If they have kids or they're having a new kid or something like that, I'll always check in with them.
Wow.
And then, so I just wanted to ask a couple questions of you. What is the main source of your business now?
Well, I'm a newbie, so I don't have a lot of business, and I'm happy to listen to you say that what you just did. So I was in teaching for,
Nice.
I taught in Boston for like 34 years, 36 years. And then when I retired, I'm like, I've got to do something. And my mother was a broker, and my father used to always say to me, "You have to do it." And after he died, I'm like, "I'll get my license." And then my sister ended up buying a place. My niece bought a place. All these people were buying places and I couldn't help them. And I'm like, "Oh man, I have my license and I haven't joined a brokerage." So I'm like, I gotta do that. Um, so I feel like since I've started just kind of learning a lot, taking a lot of classes, I really haven't done much. I've only done 3 transactions. I had two about 2 weeks ago. I had two offers written, and they both fell through. One through the inspection, and one the buyers backed out. They just got cold feet. So,
Yeah.
um, so 1 to 2 years. I haven't even been here a year. So just
Nice.
not just not even a half year. But
Okay. Good. I think that's great, and I think that I would imagine if all your family lives locally and everything, you'll probably build a lot of referral-based business through that as well, which will be
I
nice.
I hope so, because, like I said, I missed so many good deals. One of my friends just bought a house, and an expensive house, and she'd been looking for like a year. So our other
Mhm.
friend gave her the name of somebody, and she's like, "Oh, I wish you had done that." And she had, it ended up being like a four transactions, because it was her house she was selling, the house she bought, her daughter was selling and buying. So I'm like, "Oh my
Ugh,
God."
that's
Yeah.
tough.
And they were like over $1 million homes. So I'm like, "Oh my
There will
God."
be more in the future. Don't worry,
Yeah.
there will be
I
more.
don't know that many people that can afford that. So,
I know. I
but
totally get that.
You'll
Uh,
meet them. You'll meet them. You'll get that pipeline growing and you'll be able to meet them. And
yeah,
don't get down on the two that fell through because it's easy to do so,
yeah,
especially this time of year. But don't get down about that. I mean, I'm sure
no,
Nate can speak to the fact that he's probably had transactions that didn't go through in the
yeah,
end, and it can be discouraging in the moment. But it's like what Dave Jenks said this morning on that call. Don't worry about the outcome. Just keep
right.
pushing ahead one day at a time, and it will all come together.
Well,
yeah,
honestly, I felt that way because one of them was my nephew, and I think I would have felt worse if it had gone through and all these things had happened and he was paying money to get this and that fixed. I would have felt really badly. So,
yeah. It all works the way it's supposed to work,
yeah,
and definitely, like Alicia said, just keep pushing for it. I mean, literally last week, one of my deals fell through, and it just happens. It is
yeah,
what it is, and it's
yeah,
not
it's
something that
part of the game.
yeah, and it's not something we have control over, and that's okay. I think the important part is not getting caught up on that and just moving forward and either helping that client find another property or moving on. And
Right.
more business will always come. Let me ask you, where would you like to see your business in the next 1 to 2 years?
I would like to see it growing by at least triple what I did. I just, when Bill Stone is my coach, he asked me originally, like, how much do you want to sell? And which was a really hard question for somebody who's never been in the business. I didn't know what was realistic. And I'm like, oh, I'd be happy if I could sell 5 houses this year or 6 houses or whatever. And now I see that it can happen. So
Definitely.
baby steps, I guess. So I would just like to see it just being more productive,
Yeah.
and making some money.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that Alicia's taught me, is setting those goals in the beginning of the year, getting it all set up, and paying attention to it. Because I'm not that organized. I can be disorganized at times, and so it can be challenging for me to follow up with those goals and look at them regularly. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that's very, very important, is to pay attention to those, and have faith that you can do it. So, like, don't worry about what's realistic or not realistic, because realistically, anything is realistic in real estate. I mean, you can do anything in real estate for like amount of transactions. So I wouldn't get caught up on that either. Um,
I
so
have to hop off and on to my next Zoom meeting, but I just
no
wanted to
problem.
say this is a great conversation. Teresa, I think you're going to take a lot away from this today. You are in great hands with Nate. Nate,
No.
thank you so much for teaching this class,
My
and I
pleasure.
look forward to hearing all of your aha moments.
All
All
right,
right.
great. Thanks, Alicia.
All
Thanks,
right,
Alicia.
I'll talk to you guys soon.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right. So turning the leads given into clients. So we will get leads over time, and sometimes they're hot leads, sometimes they're not so hot leads. And what that means basically is sometimes it is a hot lead would be your nephew. he knows that you're in real estate and he comes to you, and that's a hot lead. A not so hot lead, maybe a cold lead would be something like someone's like, hey, a friend of mine is thinking about buying, feel free to give him a call.
Yeah.
I would call that a cold lead unless he or she mentions to the friend, hey, Teresa's going to call you. She's a friend of mine. She's a realtor. She's going to do an awesome job for you. I would say that would be more like a warm lead. You might not know the person yet, but um, so what do you do when you receive the referral? So for me, the first thing that I do is it depends how it's given to me. If someone connects me in an email with the person, I'll respond back to that email and I'll say, hey, when would be a great time to talk? And the first thing I do is I go over the basic things in real estate. And that would be how a sales transaction goes, what I'm going to do for them, how I'm going to find them the right properties, how I'm going to help them to say if this is a buyer, how I'm going to help them to kind of sort through all of the properties and also make sure that they're not overpaying for a property. And I just give them a whole rundown of everything that I would do for them as I'm going through this process. And with the referral based leads, most of the time they're going to use you as the real estate agent, or they probably wouldn't have taken the call with you in the first place. Very rarely are they gonna, you know, I shouldn't say rarely, but at least for myself in my business, very rarely do I have a conversation with someone that's a buyer and they don't end up using me as their agent just because it's a referral and they feel comfortable with the person that sent them over to me, so they're gonna feel
Mhm.
comfortable with me. Um, so I first have that conversation with them, and then the next step is I get them right connected to a lender. And I want to reason why I want to get them connected to a lender is one, I want them to start this process and get it all ready, get a pre-approval so that we can get out there and start searching. And once they get connected to the lender, I'll check up with them every few days or so, see how that process is going. And then once they get that pre-approval, I'll set up another phone call with them. And what I'll do at that point is I'll figure out exactly what they're looking for. So I'll narrow it down to which towns you're looking for, what's the price point, which usually we'll know from the pre-approval what the price point is. What's important to them, what's not important. Do they need a yard? Do they want a condo? Do they want a single family, multifamily, whatever it is?
Mhm.
And I just narrow that down. And at that point, usually, I mean, they've devoted enough time at that point with you that usually that you can just get out and, at least for myself, I can get out and start searching with them. I used to always get buyer consultation or buyer agreements signed from buyers,
Mhm.
like a representation agreement. But now that I'm working straight out referrals, I don't do that anymore. I would still recommend doing it, and a lot of agents will recommend doing it. I just don't anymore, just because it's the way that I've been running my business for a while. I have a conversation with them always in the beginning, just saying, hey, I just want to let you know, you don't pay me and I don't get paid until we close on a property. So I'm going to do everything I can to help you. I just would please expect in return that you are loyal to me, and that if you want to put in an offer on a property, to please give me a call, basically,
Two
just
questions.
to kind of set that standard.
Okay. Do
Um,
you typically use the same lender?
I do. Yeah. I
Okay.
have a handful that I have relationships with, but I use Bob Malone,
Yeah, that's who I
and
did
his
too.
team, just because I've had such an amazing experience with them through so many transactions. I don't think that there's been one, except for actually one with an appraisal, but that's out of their hands. But I don't think there's been one that fell through
Okay.
due to their errors or anything like that. And so I trust them, So that's the majority, unless someone already has a lender that they like and they've used, and they want to use that person, that's totally fine with me as well. I'll always just have a conversation with that person to see how they work.
Okay. The other thing you said, when you're taking on new clients and you try to make sure that they're not paying too much. And I feel like, okay, so one of the ones I'm working with now is my son it's about to pass in January, but I'm like, of course it's my son, but I'm like, God, I think he paid too much for this house, but it's kind of the market. They had been looking and, you know, offers in and not accepted. And it was like, you got to just do this if you want to be in the game.
Yeah, it's tough. And I always ask people what their motivation is, where they see themselves in 5 years, because if they plan on turning, and I'll say to people, I'm like, honestly, because I mean, as you know, putting in offers right now, you got to go in 30, 40, sometimes 50,000 over asking, and it's
Yeah.
absurd. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm like, even if this appraises right now in a year or two, if the market corrects, I mean, your house isn't going to be worth this. So what's your plan? Do you plan on staying in this for 5 years? Because if so, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
okay to do that. You know what I mean? Because by the time that 5 years comes, you're going to build enough equity in it by making payments and different things like that, that you'll be okay.
All right. That's
Um,
encouraging.
yeah, yeah. And then if it's like I'm working with a client right now who she's actually buying a house for her daughter-in-law and son, and
Wow.
so and she's more of the business mind and the investment mind, which I like. That's something that I've dove into a lot myself, is just learning about investments and different things like that. So I know what she's looking for, and I know she doesn't want to. She wants to get a decent deal, which can be tough in this market, but it's still doable. It just mightn't be a property. You might not be able to get a crazy price reduction on it, but you might be able to get a property that needs some updating that you can add some value to it.
How many houses did you sell in a year? I'm just curious.
That's a good question, and I should know that number. If I was to guess, I would say this year it was. I know my volume, I believe, or at least close to it. I want to say it's like 7.5 million or 8 million this
Oh
year.
my gosh.
I think. I'm really bad at keeping track of my numbers, as I was mentioning earlier when Alicia was on the call. And
Yeah. Well, I don't even understand half of that. Like, I mean, right now, I know obviously I haven't capped. So I like in my head, I always say, okay, you're going to get half of what your commission says it's going to be,
yeah,
almost like that. Because by the
roughly,
time
yeah.
you do that and then pay my um, mentor and all that, so
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing is once you get rolling though, like it's so easy to cap. I mean, so my cap restarts at the end of August, and I just capped again the other day, like a couple days ago.
really, like, how
So
do you have
I
to,
now have like 9 months of 100% commission. So
oh
like,
my gosh,
yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
I
So
can't
once you get
imagine.
rolling, don't even worry about the cap. Like, I mean, don't even worry about the commission split, because it, it's gonna, once you get going and you start doing a good amount of business, it's only $3.5 million worth of, roughly, worth of deals to be able to cap. So it'll happen quicker than you think, because I know 3.5 million sounds like a lot,
Yeah,
but think about it. If you got all those 4 deals that were over a million from your friends, you would have capped out already.
yeah.
Um, but don't, I mean, I'm not bringing it up to like
Okay.
reminisce on and be like, oh, I should have done that. I just want to say that just to like show that it's pretty easy to do, and once you get going, you will do it. So don't doubt that that will happen.
Okay. Do you ever, it must be hard, like right now, because I have nothing. And when I've had something, it's been like that one person I can concentrate on. I can't imagine when you have so many different things going on. It's got to get crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it definitely does at times. You just kind of learn to be able to do it. I mean, like, I remember the first time I had like 2 deals under contract at once, and I was like, "This is amazing! Like, I'm doing
Yeah.
so good. I have 2 deals under contract." And then the first time I had like 3 or 4, and it just, you kind of learn to just be very organized with the deals and be able to figure out to basically stay on top of it. I have a board in my I have one in the office, and then I have one in my home office, and it basically just has all of the transactions that I have under contract and then all of the dates. So every day I check it and I'm like, okay, I'm good there, I'm good there, I'm good there. And I just know that I don't
Uh,
have to do anything with any of those at the moment. So yes, it can be though.
yeah, there's lots to learn.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and I do have some buyers, but there's not a lot of inventory. So that's
Yeah,
frustrating as well.
it is. Something I would suggest, this is just kind of off topic, but well, sort of. Something I would suggest with the buyers that are out there searching, but there's not a lot of inventory, or they're getting beat up on offers and stuff,
Hmm.
bring them to the properties that have been on for a week or two, or a few weeks, the ones that you're going to go there and you're not going to be competing with other people, and you might be able to come in at or under asking.
Yeah,
And
that's good advice.
yeah, I mean, that's something that I try to do. If someone's like struggling and we're just going hard every weekend looking at multiple houses, making offers, and we're just not getting anything because they're going 30,000 over, but everyone else is going 50,000 over. And it's like,
Yeah.
so at that point, I plug away looking at the properties that have been on the market for a little while.
Okay.
And I find that sometimes they get passed up because the pictures suck,
Yeah.
or it doesn't show nice, or people didn't have a vision walking in there and seeing what they can do to the property, or simple little things that sometimes properties just pass up because, or they priced it too high in the beginning and they had to price drop, price drop, price drop.
I think I'm going to lose one of the buyers shortly because he has a lease and it has to be re-signed in February. And so there's really not a lot to be showing,
yeah, that's tough.
and he wants Quincy, and Quincy's tough.
Quincy is a tough market.
So
Reach out to some people in our office and see if they have any properties coming up.
yeah, he also has a VA loan. So it's just a lot of,
it's tough.
Yeah.
A lot of factors.
Yeah.
So back to this,
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You can ask as many questions as you want. So how to treat your referral partner, the one giving the referral. What I do personally is I tend to gift them more than I give, so I take care of my referral partner. Like when someone refers me business, I will do something nice for them in return. It's not a reward or a payment for that referral, but it is hey, I want to really thank you for thinking of me, and I appreciate you and your business. And I'll send them, a nice Amazon gift card or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying this I don't know if it's something that you're supposed to do or not, but yeah, it'll be fine. So that's something that I do because I find that is important. The people that refer me business, they're not referring me business for a gift. They're referring me business because they trust me and they like me and they want to see me grow. But I want to show that I really appreciate it, because I don't want to just get too busy to a point where I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, I appreciate that, I'll go help that person now, and then not follow back up with them or anything like that. So I'll always take care of them with something. And then I follow back up with them after I have the first conversation with them. And I say, hey, just wanted to thank you again for connecting me to Carol. And I wanted to let you know that I just had a conversation with her, and we're going to get out and start searching for properties, or I'm going to list our home or whatever it is. And I just thank them, and just to reassure that, like, hey, I appreciate you, and I am taking care of this person. And then as for new client, I already sort of spoke on that, how I basically give them a breakdown of how everything works. I talk about anything that they want to talk about. I answer any questions they have, and I bring them through the process so that there's a lot of clarity, just to make sure that they're locked in and we have a good conversation. And then on top of that, the conversation that I mentioned earlier, just letting them know that I don't get paid until we close on the property. So just the loyalty conversation, basically. Okay. And then how to get more referrals from clients. I think it's on. Okay. So something that I wrote up I just literally typed this up quickly. It's actually I stole from a book that I read, which I would really highly recommend you read. It's really good.
What is it?
The 7 levels. Hang on. 7 levels of. I'll pull it up right now. It's a really, really, it was a book that like opened my eyes up.
You must have had a lot of people that you knew, even when your bartenders know everybody.
Yeah, it's nice. That was definitely nice. The 7 levels of communication.
Okay. Where did you bartend?
Amrines in South Boston.
Oh God.
I figured if you're from this area, you know the place.
I'm from Dorchester, so I definitely know it.
Yeah, it's been around forever.
Yeah. Oh, you must know everybody then.
Yeah. There's built a lot of connections in there, and
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. I actually surprisingly don't know if I've gotten any business from bartending there.
Really?
It's funny, when I first got into real estate, one of my buddies who was working for the company that I was working for, I was a brand new agent, so I was like intimidated. This guy who was a regular was coming in, and he's like, oh, you're in real estate now. And I was just talking to him. He's like, I actually want to sell my condo. And one of my friends who was a realtor happened to be sitting right next to him having lunch, because I asked him to come in and just talk to me and hang out so I could talk to him about real estate stuff. And I was like, yeah, actually, but honestly, this guy right here has been in longer than me. He knows a lot more than me. I think he would be better if like I just didn't know. I just like gave him.
Yeah.
$1.2 million property.
Half the time, I was like, ah.
Yeah. One. Yeah. It was an expensive property, but I just I didn't know what I didn't know.
Feel as comfortable. I mean, that's how I get to.
Yeah. So I wrote this quick script up basically. I didn't write it verbatim to the book. I would highly recommend reading that book. Okay. And then the script is in there. But basically, this is when you first meet with the new buyer. So you're sitting down for the first meeting, which now I tend to do on the phone. I used to meet always in person, to be able to give them paperwork and talk to them and just have a personal conversation. I've been doing that all over the phone lately for the last probably year or so. I think even before COVID, I was doing it for a little while just to save on time, basically. Um, or I'll jump on a Zoom call with them or something. So this is the script. So, Mr. Buyer, now that you're in the process of buying a home and you're all of a sudden, you're buying a home, all of a sudden you're going to start hearing everyone around you talking about real estate. Let me explain. It is a thing called the reticular activating system. This is a part of your brain that starts to recognize things you weren't thinking about before. Have you ever been buying a new car and now all of a sudden you see the car everywhere you go? The buyer, yeah, well, yeah, I have. Well, that car always was there and your brain just didn't register it. Same thing with buying a home. So what I ask you is, going through this process, that if you hear of anyone talking about real estate, either buying or selling a house, can you do me a favor and ask them, if it's all right if you have your realtor reach out to them? Yeah, sure. All right, perfect. All you have to do is give me their phone number with their permission, and I'll take it from there. Don't worry, I won't bother them. I just want the opportunity to give your friends an amazing experience with real estate, as I suspect you will have. So this is basically just talking to them as the first consultation, talking to them after they decide they're working with you, and you're gonna help them find their property. This is basically just saying, hey, you're gonna hear about real estate all the time, and I just would love for you to basically refer me over. It's basically just asking for their referral ahead of time before the referral even comes.
Oh, that's good.
It's an easy conversation to have. Tweak it how you want to tweak it, use it or don't. But it's an easy one to kind of get into, because you're explaining something to them and whatnot. This is something that I find to be useful, just because I do believe that. Like, I know when I first got into real estate, I all of a sudden heard people talking about real estate all the time. And have you ever been like, now that you're in real estate in a restaurant or something, and you hear someone like talk about real estate 4 tables over, and you're like, huh?
Exactly. Well, when you gave the example of the car, I remember last year when I was looking for a car and we were on the road traveling with friends, and I'm like, oh my God, there's the car. There's the car. It just kept showing up. I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah. So
the real thing. It's a real thing. So that can be helpful in that scenario. And then I gave another script. This is for sold clients, because if you're like me in the beginning, I was intimidated to call people. I didn't enjoy calling people and asking for referrals. So before they became past clients, this is right after we closed on their property. Now I'll ask them this question, basically asking them, I want to thank you for an awesome experience working with you. Moving forward, I want to let you know that anything at all that you need related to real estate, I'm here to help. I also want to let you know that periodically you'll be receiving a phone call from me, just checking in to see if I can help in any way. And also to ask you if you know of anyone thinking about buying or selling real estate that I could help. Is that all right with you? The seller or buyer, yes, of course, that would be great. And of course, anyone I know that's in real estate that has any real estate needs, I'll definitely pass them your way. Great, thank you. Again, I appreciate the opportunity. So same kind of thing. Like, it's basically just letting them know ahead of time, hey, I'm going to be calling you periodically, so that you're not like, just because, I mean, when you're only calling them 4 times a year or maybe 5 times a year, I mean, it's a couple months in between, or a few months in between every phone call. So you don't want to feel weird picking up the phone and calling them. At least I don't. So I always set that standard up front to basically, give them that or get that green light from them that that's okay if I call them, that it's not going to bother them. It's not going to be intruding on them in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the gist of it. So questions and answers. Any questions you have at all for me? Or about real estate? Or
you're going to be so sorry that it's just me on this call.
No, that's good.
No, I guess, I mean, I do feel I'm totally guilty of not making the calls every day.
Yeah.
That's for
We
sure.
all are. Don't worry.
And then I took Kristen Buca's class last week with the farming, and thought, yeah, maybe I could like get into like my neighborhood or someplace and start doing it. I don't know. I guess like what you're saying is more comfortable for me going through people that I know.
Yeah.
And that's everybody that I've done so far has kind of been like that.
Yeah.
So the very first deal I did, that was not a good way to start out because it was a friend who's, she's a good friend, but her brother was in commercial real estate and he thought he knew about real estate and he just kept telling her to price the house at, they priced it like 100 over what I thought it should have gone for. But they were like, nope, we're not coming down. We're not coming down. We're not coming down. And so it was one of those houses that sat and,
Yeah.
but it was first one and friend. And I was like, oh, so I don't know. I guess
It's a good experience though with those because you're like, all right, I know what I did wrong now.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
it
I don't know
happens.
what it just I guess just how you started to build up what you've answered, just really it is just through referrals.
Yeah, now it is. It's funny. I didn't expect to be in a just completely referrals. Um, I mean, I shouldn't say this soon because anyone can do it at any time. But for
Yeah.
me, my mindset was like, I just don't. I mean, I know a lot of people in Boston. But I moved up here like 7 years ago. So
Right.
all those relationships are all just people that I've met in that past 7 years, and a lot of them aren't relationships where I feel comfortable necessarily asking them for business. So
Yeah.
um, so I thought that it was going to be a big challenge for me, but it really has been. I mean, it definitely hasn't been easy, but it's been amazing to see it happen because it was something that I wasn't sure was ever going to happen. I thought I was going to be calling expireds and for sale by owners forever, and I didn't enjoy that all that much.
Yeah.
It's great, but for me, it got old. It just kind of beat you down.
Yeah.
It's a great source of business though, and I'll do it again if I need to.
And do you concentrate on a particular area or just where these people are?
Um, South Shore and
Yeah.
south of Boston, pretty much, and I'll do some in like Metro West. And I mean, lately I've had a couple like good friends that are buyers that are moving. Like I have one under contract right now out in Bellingham, and it's like I've
Wow.
never been to Bellingham. I actually went there one time to go golf, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
Funny.
it's far out there, but that wouldn't be my normal area necessarily. But I will go out there for friends and stuff because when I'm searching for homes with friends, it's not like work to me. I enjoy being with them and seeing them buy their first house. It's
Yeah.
exciting process.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've had people say that, well, how long have you been doing this? And, I can read between the lines. Like, I feel like they need somebody with more experience or want somebody with more experience. And I do say to them, I have people at my fingertips and I'm not, foolish enough to think I know all the answers. I definitely reach out because I don't want to make mistakes. But
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
think
would
that
push
part is,
the office in those scenarios. Be like, look, I got between my office and my colleagues, the people that are going to be helping me, though they have years and years of experience.
yeah. Okay.
I mean, I that was something that I struggled with too for a while, obviously, until I got to a point where I'm comfortable with saying how long I've been in business. Like my first couple of years, I hated when people asked me that
Yeah.
question. I was like,
I don't
2
like it
years.
either. Or how many houses have you sold?
Yeah,
And like even my friends, they'll call me now. They're like, "Oh, how's real estate? How many houses have you sold?" Like they think I'm selling like 10 a week. And I'm like, it's not that easy.
yeah, I
You
know
know,
exactly.
it's embarrassing, like giving
Yeah.
that answer, but I'm like,
Well, it's only embarrassing because they don't understand the business because it
yeah,
is not easy. It's not an easy business. Everyone thinks it is getting into it. They're like, "Oh, I'm
right.
gonna crush it," and
Well, I've had more people say to me, "Oh, I could just go in and show a house, like, hey, this is the house." I'm like, yeah, it's not quite that easy, but
yeah.
uh,
But it can be a fun business, definitely.
yeah.
I enjoy it. Any other questions or anything that I can answer for you?
I like if you were doing a referral that wasn't local, that it wasn't Bellingham or something. Have you done things like that, referred it out to people?
Definitely.
And how does that
So
work?
anything in the North Shore, I refer out, and then obviously other states I refer out, and if it's like Western Mass, I'll refer it out. I mean, I'll go like as far as like where I live right now is pretty awesome location in the sense of commute wise because I'm right like on the corner of basically like 90. I'm on exit 5 of 93, so I'm like right next to 95 and 93. So it's very convenient.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll do things out that way, out in like Foxborough area and stuff. I will
Mhm.
do things out that way. Um, But anything like North Shore or other states, Western
Yeah.
Mass, something like that, I refer it out. And the way that that works is basically what I'll do is if someone reaches out to me and I drive for those referrals. So like say like someone's like in the North Shore or something, like I don't say, "Oh no, I can't help you." I say, "Hey, let's jump on a phone call." And then I have a conversation with them and I'm like, "Hey, I think I got the right person for you where you live. Like I would love to help you, but I don't go out that way.
Hmm.
And I want to get you someone that's better suited for that area than I am." And then I call an agent in the KW office wherever it is, and I'll if I don't already have a relationship with them, I'll kind of interview them a little bit, find out what they do for transactions, how long they've been in the business, have they been, are they in the business like full time, or is it just something that they do
Hmm.
once in a while, um, and then I just tell them the percentage that I'm charging, whether it's 25 or 30%, and give them the referral, and then they take it over from there. And then I'll always check up with them every once in a while because I still want that person in my database.
Hmm.
I still want referrals from that person in the future, so I'll always check up with them, see how they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I have to work on too, is my database, because it's pretty lame.
Yeah, it takes time, but start now with
Yeah.
however many people you have to put in there. Just put them in there and just start to build it. I think it's something that's easily put aside because it's not immediate and it's not, at least for me, that's how it was my
Mhm.
first probably year and a half being in real estate. It wasn't an immediate need. So it was always put aside. It wasn't something that I felt I needed to do. And
Right.
it was something I wanted to, but didn't need to. But it is something you need to for long term business.
Okay. And then sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm spending so much money to get into the business and I'm
Mhm.
really not making. I'm like, oh my gosh, when I look what I spent, and
Yeah.
I know you have to do that. And I
Yeah.
have to keep better track of it too. I have to do that.
Yeah. And I find what I did was actually created a separate bank account that any business expenses, I use that debit card.
Oh, that was
Uh,
smart.
that's helpful for me just because I'm not good at tracking that stuff
Yeah,
either.
that's really smart.
Yeah, I'm not one to keep receipts and all that stuff, so I just keep it all in one place so that I don't have to think about it.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, something I would suggest, like if you're planning on paying for some kind of like marketing or Zillow or something like that, just talk to agents in the office and find out if it's worth the money.
Okay.
Most of the time, with how many agents that we have in the office, most of the time, everyone has done something that you're going to try to do. You know what I mean? Or someone in the office has done what you're going to try to do, or what you're planning on using. Or they've gotten marketing calls from people like, "Hey, I'll boost your business by this."
Right.
They've also gotten those calls most likely. So just run it by them. That's what I would do. Feel free to call me anytime and run it
What do
by.
you use the most? The postcards, or
For what?
like to when you're sending out to people in a certain area, or I
Oh,
used
for farming or for
yeah.
yeah. So I'm not good with the farm. I set one up a while back and then I didn't really follow through with it.
Mhm.
Kristen is excellent with it. She was actually the one that was helping me set it up. But I would use, if I was doing it, and when I do, it depends on what it's for. But if it's for that, I would probably use postcards, go door knock, different things like that. In the sense of, so I'm actually buying a property right now, and for myself, and the way I
Oh,
found that was mailers. I just wrote a letter and sent it out to people.
congrats. Where you buying?
Abington, a
Oh my
three
God.
family.
That's where my son's buying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's passing January 5th. And it's funny because he was gonna do, well, Quincy, Braintree, Weymouth, and then just didn't happen. We're in Abington.
Right on Bedford Street.
Um,
Bedford Street's like the main road. I don't remember the number. It's a
yeah.
number road.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're super excited. Uh,
Yeah. I'm pumped too. It's
but
it's always exciting. Is this his first house?
yes, yep.
Awesome.
Is it your well, no, is it yours too?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's my first house. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they've been looking a while, and then really didn't know much about Abington, but stuff that would come on, they went and saw, and they're like, wow, you get a lot more in Abington than you get in some of these other towns that they were looking at. And
Definitely. And it's a decent town too. I mean, I'm only planning on being there for probably about a year, and then I'm going to buy another one. It's a three family, so I'm going to just rent out two of the units, and then hopefully in a year go do it again, go buy another one. But we'll see.
yeah, they're near that Ames State Park or whatever it's called.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it'd be nice time.
well, that's funny that you're saying the 3-family, because that's what my nephew really wants to buy, is a 2-family.
That's what
But
he should do.
there's not a whole lot around. He's like, he feels like it would be a better investment for him.
Definitely will be.
Um, but he's only approved up to, I think, 650.
That's
And
okay. I just bought mine for 440.
really, but he wants Quincy because he's a firefighter there.
Okay. He can still find something probably in Quincy for that price.
Yeah.
And the pre-approval, just FYI on this, the pre-approval for a multifamily, it is the 650 or whatever a single family?
No, that's the multi. He had
Okay, I was
just
gonna
five
say, you
something.
usually get more for multifamily because they
Yeah.
improve the rent. But he
So
could find something for that price probably.
yeah, we've been looking, but
It's tough. That Quincy's tough. Weymouth, he could find something for that price,
yeah.
but he probably has to stay in Quincy, I would imagine, being a
He
firefighter.
doesn't have to, but I mean, this sounds so silly, but they like to be near some of the bars and the action. He's still young, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can drive from Weymouth to Quincy, but
Mhm.
and they'll, maybe once he sees what he can't get,
Yeah.
he'll change his mind. But
Yeah, I
he's
just had a client that got one for 580 right up by our office in Weymouth, and
really,
beautiful property, nice piece of land, like a nice little yard, um, 2 family, and it's nice. I mean, it needs the downstairs unit needs updating. She's actually in the process of doing it right now. It's like just outdated, but it's in good shape. And that
yeah,
was for 580, and so it's doable in Weymouth for sure. But Quincy's, it's tough
yeah,
finding one for that price.
yeah. And I think everybody starts when they're young looking at things and they want it done,
Yeah.
unless you're handy. I don't know. Are you handy?
No, but I mean, I can be, but I'm more of I mean, my whole family's like carpenters and
Oh, you're kidding.
contractors and stuff. So I'm very blessed in that sense. But no, I mean, I got some, this property needs work, but like it just needs like cosmetic work. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop the
Oh,
recording as well, just because.
I'm sorry. You're so lucky that you have people to do that. It's still recording, I think.